Hey everyone, it's Anna here from Journeys. Today's AAA question, Ask Anna Anything. Today's question is, what do you do when people around you don't know how to handle your vulnerability? Whew. It's a good question, it's a big question, and it's a hard question. It's hard because there's no easy answer. It's hard because it makes us look at our own stuff. Often when we have a question around what do you do when someone isn't doing what we want, often our default is to want to fix them, to want to tell them that they're doing it wrong and tell them how to do it right. So in regards to this question, there was a couple things that came to my mind. One thing was, it depends on who the person is and what kind of relationship you have with them. And what I mean by that is if this is a brand new person, you've maybe never met them before, or they're very new, so you've only seen them a few times, and it might even be that they're people who you feel like you could connect with, you've shared vulnerability, and they haven't known what to do with that. So if they're a newer person and they aren't responding well to your vulnerability, my encouragement is to say to you, this is information for you. It's information about the other person, it's information about you, it's information about your relationship or your friendship, and it gives you insight into all of those things. And so if it's a newer person, I would say to you, just take it as information. Be conscious of how much you share, maybe pull back a little bit in regards to what you share vulnerably. But that doesn't necessarily mean you don't see them anymore. Okay, so it might just be that maybe one of the things of in Brené's work in the myths of vulnerability, one of them is that we think we have to overshare, or that oversharing is vulnerable. But actually, sometimes we overshare because we want to fast track connection. We want to make that connection quicker and sooner. But sometimes it's just too much too soon, right? So if it's a newer person, be conscious of what you're sharing and use their inability to know what to do with the vulnerability as information for you. And so it might just be about pulling back a little bit and sharing less, or sharing different kinds of things. The other thing is, if you feel like, oh my gosh, that's not someone I want to be around, because it depends how they've dealt with your vulnerability, then use that as information too. And it might be that you say, I actually don't want to spend time with this person. That's okay as well, right? Especially if it's in a new relationship. If this is an older relationship, you've known this person for a very long time, it might only be that you are newly being vulnerable with each other, there might be a level of asking for what you need, of teaching each other what's okay and what's not okay, right? So sometimes when we have known people for a long time, but maybe we haven't gone deep vulnerably with them, because that happens. We have lots of friendships and relationships that stay at kind of a surface level for a long period of time. Sometimes then when people are doing their own work or they're discovering new things, they want to share deeply with someone who has been in their life for a long time, but then that person doesn't really know how to handle what you're saying. So that means then we need to teach each other. We need to say, when you respond like that, it makes me feel whatever. Makes me feel unheard, it makes me feel judged, whatever it is that it makes you feel. So that's your own reflective process as well then. So if it's with someone who you've known a long time, my encouragement would be vulnerable and let them know that how they responded wasn't helpful for you, and ask them how they could respond differently next time. Okay. The other thing is, when people don't know how to respond, or they don't know how to handle our vulnerability, often it's because it's triggering something within themselves. So again, that's not to say you're being triggered, or this is because you don't know stuff about yourself and that's why, you didn't know how to handle what I shared with you. It's not about giving that kind of feedback and really accusing them of their own stuff. Okay, so think about what kind of relationship is this? Is it a newer relationship or an older relationship? And just remember that, again, we need to share with people who have earned the right to hear our story. So if it's a newer person, have you really spent enough time together for them to actually earn that right? Have they shown you how you can trust them? And so it's important to keep that in check as well. So I hope that helps. It's a hard question, and it's a really good question though, because I think it's something that a lot of us struggle with. I hope that's been helpful.